tracking shots in a domestic location are always dicey, but I'll risk it to give you some sense of the insanity that is the time traveler's desk, and the amount of materials that I've accumulated. And this is just a bit of it, right? Because we have the stuff at the office, the stuff on the office on desks, on on piled on the floor. It's just it's madness, and of course up and still like up until a little while ago, I was still looking at most of this stuff and say, oh, and we need to buy more. Even though bearing in mind that according to the laws of my insanity pepper, magical formula, meta RPG, time travel technology, all of this stuff that you see on this desk in about 11 months, right, is temporal, will become temporally irrelevant for a given period of time. It will become for my magical purposes out of season. Under certain conditions, very depending on what particular years they are focused on. Everything that you kind of looked at was either from 2013, from 10 years ago, 2003, 20 years ago, 1998, 25 years ago, 1993, 30 years ago, or 1983, 40 years ago. Okay? Now, so because of the time loops and using this material from these time loop centric years in order to travel back to these periods of time, and using some of these role playing game materials, um, further investing in the time travel experience and trying to using these role playing game characters or player avatars, trying to invest in them some of our mental energy, residual mental energy, and seeing if we can kind of use them to kind of leave our imprints in the past. Um, and seeing if when we return, if we see any sort of effect as we are continuing to game in the present space and observing the effects of this time travel technology, even if it's not doing time travel, you are still doing the attempt to time travel. Okay, so I'm just going to show you some materials that I thought. This is just like an update video, like a time traveler's update video. So there was that little bit of information I just shared with you that I think is pertinent and valuable, and maybe valuable to some people. And what I'm then going to do is I'm going to just show you some materials that actually found after I thought I had sweeped everything. I did an additional sweep last night and found yet more materials from these given years that I want to just share with you, and show that it seemed a little update, and one extra special surprise one that I know is going to knock some of y'all socks off, that you're going to get a real kick out of, and we're going to use. So that's really kind of where we're going to get to, and then as a bonus, I'm going to read to you spells from that I just generated from a movie, an animated movie from 1993 called Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This features the wonderful Mark Hamill Joker, and I'll share with you 33 spells that I generated from that movie. And I think just reading the spells off will give you a kind of kick. I think it'll work as a kind of avant-garde, kind of little like spoken word thing for those who just aren't going to use the spells for anything else. And I think for those who are engaged in the meta RPG, SSP, TTT, the meta RPG, for those who are rolling all the way with it, hearing about the spells, just hearing how I generated spells, hearing how I named some spells, will give you some feel. The more, you know what I mean? Just here, you're learning how to play an instrument, listening to people, even just listening to people play the instrument, you know? Get you some of that vibe. So here we go. Let me just give you some materials and some of this stuff. I'm not gonna like give you a big to do about all this stuff because that would take too long. This was a book. This is not. I didn't find. This was purchased recently. This is one of the many bajillion used books I bought at the Barnes and Noble that is closing down. That we linked to the first episode of The Simpsons from 2003 that we watched, and the next day it was announced that the Barnes and Noble that I've been going to since it had opened in like 1996 or whatever, with its famous used book section, was closing down. And I went, and of course I had to go. The famous number 4 for me, and this is this gal Laura K. Hamilton. My understanding is that she's like a vampire gal writer, and it's 2003. It's all that matters to me. And hey, chick vampires, who can go wrong? From 1983, The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow by Constance Cumby. This was a classic of the New Age movement and our coming age of barbarism. This was one of the classics of like born again Christian. We got to watch out for the New Age. The New Age is coming. It's going to kill us all. This was one of the bedrocks of that whole movement. This was a big one. A lot of people know this one. So this is from 1983, so 40 years. Number 1 bestseller. Going to be obviously doing a lot of work with that one to show you. Purchased probably 30 years ago, but never read. Wanted to. The cover alone. I've had this book, and this book has been like on my bookshelves and always, face out like a portrait. Morrissey and Marr, The Severed Alliance. New revised edition. The new revised edition, I believe, came out in... When did this come out? I think if this is not a 93, it's a 98. Let's see what's going on here. Nope. 92, 93. So it must have been the first put out in 92, then revised in 1993. So there you go, with our good friend Morrissey on the cover. This was back in the day when I got this in 93. What was he? He was a paragon of alternative culture. Where is he now, 30 years later? A paragon of, brown people, geez. It's just not very... Is this what we think of when we think of England? My God, it was just like, it was his second solo record that he had that song, like National Front Disco. And basically, like, he's become a parody of what he used to sing about. It's insanity, but there you go. Oh my God, some people will recognize this. The Book of Lies, The Disinformation Guide to Magic and the Occult. It's dusty, 2003. Can you believe this? Look at this name. Our good friend Keats, Pragmagic, did some work with Disinformation. Disinformation was a website. It was supposed to be basically, this is before Google. This was like, it was going to be the alternative to like what, Alta Vista. It was going to be like the alternative to Ask Jeeves. It was going to be, basically the Mother Jones of occult conspiracy theory information. It was going to be the left of the dial of the internet. That was what it was supposed to going to be. And I remember seeing initial interviews with Richard Metzger in Mondo 2000 that I also believe included an interview with, I believe, Cliff High. I'm not joking. I have to find that old issue of Mondo 2000 to confirm that. But of course, if we talk about, and so Keats, I believe, did some work with Disinformation. If we talk about the nexus between me, Keats, and then of course the first name on the friggin' thing is Grant fucking Morrison. Fuck you, Grant fucking Morrison. Hakeem Bey, William S. Burroughs, Joe Coleman. I saw him blow himself up at Disinfocon. Me and my ex-girlfriend were like the first people online at Disinfocon. There's a photo of me like giving Eric Davis. Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. Neville Jury, Jesus. Gary Lackman, all right. Paul Laffoley, all right. Anton LaVey, Timothy Leary. Look at that lineup. Terrence McKenna, Michael Moynihan, oh my God. Daniel Pinchback, give me a break. Genesis P. Orridge, all right. Donald Tyson, okay. Robert Anton Wilson, and more. Okay. edited by Richard Metzger. This is the Book of Lies. You'll see like a decline of the Western civilization with this information as their next. Like this was they entered this phase. They used to put out so many great books, and did I shout out Donald? Oh yeah. Then they sold the company, and there was just a decline of stuff, and then it got into. Yeah, they put out. I think one of the last things they did was they put out like the book version, or the book accompanied that Jay-Z Knight Ramtha collective, fake like kind of science documentary about like quantum visualization, like that. What the Belief Do We Now? Yeah, they put that out. Scientology, Theology and Practice of a Contemporary Religion. Purchased used. The great thing about people about being really into cults is people are always getting out of them. So every once in a while, I would go to that used section of Barnes & Noble. I'd be like, holy shit, someone just left Adi Dam, because there'd be like all these books from Adi Dam there. And I'd be like, okay, holy shit, someone just left Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. Someone just left Osho, or someone's father or mother or aunt who was into Osho or was into Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh back in 1978 or 79. Finally passed away, and they had to clean out her house, and they found all her old books, because here they all are, and there I would be like a vulture, and I'd buy everything. Theology and Practice of a Contemporary Religion. This is from 1998, and check this out. Look at this. The Bookworm, 365 New Hackensack Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Poughkeepsie, New York is where currently the Church of Satan is located, because that's where now friggin' I believe, what's his face, the guy who is I don't know, that guy lives. And I'm not like, yeah, that's where he lives. You know, like that is the wherever he lives is the friggin' write his address. That's where you gotta send your $100 to get your friggin' decoder ring and membership card. Anyway, it is what it is. Anywho. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. You ready for it? If I'm lying, I'm dying. David Wilcock, The Synchronicity Key. Purchased used for $10. From 2013. It was 10 years ago today. David Wilcock said, hey, hey. Synchronicity Key, destined to not be as big as any of the books that came before it. You know, much like Pauly Shore. You know what I mean? Hey guys, why doesn't it do anything new? Well, it is what it is. The Law of One is shouted out, like I think right on the back page here somewhere. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. So there it is. So I figured we, like, over the course of this year, we no doubt will end up. Here we go. In this new science, everything is alive, including planets, stars, and galaxies. Each level of the universe, from quantum to galactic, has a hidden energetic structure driven by a pulsing heartbeat that directly affects our free will. Okay? According to the Law of One series, the beating of your heart in your physical body is meant to be a holographic mirror of this greater reality that surrounds you. I mean, who quotes the Law of One material on a back blurb? It's just, that's where you get to realize, like, something doesn't make sense about this whole New York Times bestseller. Like, where's the influence? Like, what's going on? Like, how big is this stuff really? And it is what it is, but it's from 2013, so it is definitely on our loop. Now, we have entered bonus zone. Or bozo zone, depending on your point of view. So, in summation, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm from 1993. While watching this movie, I generated 2 little spell tips for you, so I just wanted to point this out. When writing down your spells, you watch these movies, you watch TV shows, you watch any material, any audiovisual material from the year that you're going back to. And it is highly recommended that if you're going to do a time jump, time loop, jump, that you use one of the, resonant, nostalgia loop years. That you go back 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. I know someone that recently asked, they said they were going to go back and they were going to start going back by going back, I think, first to 2022. I don't know. I said initially that sounds like a great idea. That sounds, you can experiment as much as you want, but going back, I think initially the idea that I was trying to say is going back to 2012. Great. If you want to go back 11 years instead of 10 years, you don't want to go back to 2013, but you want to check out 2012, that's fantastic. But trying to go back to 2022, I don't think you're going to be able to do that because you're not going to be able to tell 2022 from 2023. You're only 2 months into 2023, so there's really no 2023 to kind of understand. And there's no real kind of way to kind of only listen to music from 2022, like in any kind of discernible way. It really, you really have to kind of go back to some, you have to kind of travel back in time with this stuff to travel back in time. I apologize for that. I think that came from the Spiked Axe. So I apologize for that, discrepancy. So just note that. And if you want to send me an email or whatever for clarification, let me know. And if I've misattributed the question or comment, I apologize. Okay. And then again, also, if I say that, I don't think you could go back a year, but you've already been going back a year and you've been achieving something, forget it. Anyway, so you watch these movies, these TV shows, you read these books, you can generate spells reading books, you can generate spells, reading comic books, watching TV, playing a video game. You see something, you see a visual cue. You see an action, you see an activity, someone says something, a line of dialogue, something is triggered. You write it down. You write down the thing that is said, you write down the visual thing you see, you write down the phrase that occurs to you, write down a pithy thing that is said, and that is the spell. Don't worry, and then you use the spell in the meta RPG in various ways, as I've discussed in other videos. We won't want this video to be 25 minutes long, so I won't tell you how to do that now. Here are the spells generated for Batman Mask of the Phantasm from 1993 that I generated. You could generate different spells. I generated 33. I will read them in order to you now, and then I will end the video. Exploding Gas Balls. Ancient History. Bruce Wayne Style. Man Sandwich. The Plan is Working. Jiu-Jitsu, spelled J-E-W, Jitsu. Graveyard Apparatus. Your angel of death awaits. Weapon Break. Catch this. Farewell, Mr. Bronsky. Remember this place. House of the Future. Is that my flesh crawling? Insurance paid up sucker. Wayne in the rain. Please tell me that it's okay. Go ham at the World's Fair. It's the final breakdance. The Joker car. Your so-called mind. Guano Man. Pest Control. My Pal Sal. Preset Code 5. The Spawn of His Loins. A la Dracula. Now here's something interesting I wanted to point out. I was going to say like a la Dracula, like Dracula, like a la Bela Lugosi, like he entered the room a la Dracula. But when I wrote it down, I decided to write it down like a la, like God, like a la Dracula. Just to, hey. Then, Fun Gift Airmail. The Plane of the Future. Blow Smoke. Trick Sweetheart. Acid Gardenia. Tears in the Tia Carrera Rain. I love you, I love you, I love you. If no one told you they loved you today, someone just did. That's somebody, CW Chanter. Forgive the fact that this is an upload, not a live stream. That's how I rolled today. Take care, my friends. I will catch you on the next one. Time travelers, away!